Give it up for yourselves. Give it up for Evolve. Give it up for Speaking for Profit. So as Evolve said, my name is Jackson. I am an actor. I am an artist. I'm an educator. And if you didn't know, I am transgendered. Honestly, I'm so tired of coming out, right? Because it's not like this one-time thing that I do, right? I have to do it all the time about everything. I have to come out about my gender, and then I have to come out about my sexuality. Then I have to come out about my religious and political beliefs, my vaccination status. In New York City, I have to come out as not Dominican every time I go to get a haircut. Yeah. And, I'm one of those annoying queers that uses both he, him, and they, them pronouns. They hate to see me coming, okay? People are often very overwhelmed by this. But for me, the reality is I am affirmed by both. So they, them is how I understand myself, right? The entity within that is formless, shapeless, colorless, the me that is free. And he, him affirms some choices that I've made. Going on hormone replacement therapy, having top surgery, etc. Okay. Now, I don't know if you've ever watched anyone who is very clearly not used to using they, them pronouns try. It can be very awkward. Okay. And I have suffered enough. Okay. So I would much rather hear a firm he, him than like a shaky they, them with a question mark at the end. Have y'all heard people do that? They'll be like, well, they are coming over for dinner. Okay. Now listen. I have compassion for the honest struggle, okay? What I cannot tolerate are the excuses, right? Oh, it's so hard. It's not grammatically correct. If you have ever memorized a Missy Elliott song, it's your flipping if it's saying it. It's your flipping if it's saying it. I don't want to hear that they, them is so hard, okay? You want to know what's so hard? Never knowing when you are going to become the center of a very awkward, very uncomfortable social situation, but knowing 100% that it is going to happen at some point. Okay. The courage to be free is knowing this, having an awareness of it, and still going out into the world as the most honest version of myself. Trans, Black, non-binary, etc., etc., etc. See, my journey with gender has much less to do with the gender than it does with wanting to be comfortable in my body. So I was born female, and at the age of 13, much to my chagrin, I started to sprout this glorious beard that was the envy of most middle school boys. Soon after, I was diagnosed with PCOS, or polycystic ovarian syndrome, and I was put on birth control, told that it would help. It did not. On birth control, I became more emotionally frustrated, disassociated. And so years later, when I decided to go on testosterone, it was not about wanting to become a man. So so-called manhood has never been aspirational for me. But I was curious if going on hormone replacement therapy would help me feel more stable, more comfortable, and more confident in my body. And it did. So there's a misconception that everything that trans and non-binary people do, every choice that we make, is about how we want to appear to the world around us. People often skip over the fact that we are human beings and we have feelings. So when I had my top surgery about 2 years ago now, it felt like I hadn't taken a full breath in almost 6 years. So I don't know if y'all know this, but when you go on replacement therapy, the fat in your body redistributes. And I used to be a much larger person, and I had much larger breasts. So what that really means is some big old saggy titties, okay? And now I am grateful to testosterone for a lot of things, but saggy titties is not one of them, okay? The one consolation was that I didn't need scars for a while, because when it got too cold outside, I would just wrap them Johns around my neck, okay? Just take my binder off and let them hang around my ankles, right? But all of the sagging combined with the binding, because I did not like the way it felt, right, meant a lot of constriction around my lungs and especially around my heart. Now, I'm going to keep it real with y'all. There are days when I miss my breast. I mean, I had them for almost 40 years, right? I know I don't look my age. It's okay. But though there are times that I miss the familiarity, when I wake up in the morning, I get to lift my chest now, and I feel so much better because my heart is finally free. So it is possible to love your body and want it to change, right? I don't see nobody checking for caterpillars, right? No one is like, oh, well, why do you want to fly? Or why do you want to be colored wildly? Can you imagine that? Like, oh, what, you think you too good to just squirm around here with the rest of us worms? And meanwhile, the caterpillar's like, but I'm not a worm. So Buddhist philosopher and scholar Dr. Daisaku Ikeda once said, there is a difference between being who you are and staying as you are. Okay? But there is a difference between being who you are and staying as you are. And ultimately, I have some bad news for you, which is that some people are never going to see you. That is the truth. That is the cold, hard truth. But it's not you they don't see. It's themselves. Because people are reflections. So it is their own unlimited potential that they look past, right? I am filled with light, but sometimes people look at me and all they see are their shadows. And that is the harder truth, because it is hard to watch people struggle. It is hard to watch people suffer and not even know it, because their suffering has become commonplace, normalized ritual. So my mission in life is healing. But in order to heal, I have to sit with what has been wounded. And I have to have the courage to believe that I can see and be with my most vulnerable self. I have to believe that it is okay to have grief and to have mourning. Sometimes trans and non-binary people living our lives is such a fight that we're only given space to celebrate. But there's also a lot of loss that comes along with it. So I am a comedian, I am a teacher, I am an actor, I am a speaker because I am desperate to impart joy. But what is joy? Is it a feeling or is it an action? Because if joy is only a feeling, then I can only have it when the circumstances are present such that it is there. But if joy is an action, then I can have it whenever I so choose. So, my question for all of you today is, will you please join me in courageously and joyfully being free? Thank you. Thank you. Give it up for yourselves.